Dharma, righteousness, is the essence of Moola. Moola-born natives are religious by nature. However, the definition of religion differs and is very subjective. To natives existing at the base level of consciousness, religion means following a certain dogma, certain rules, certain customs and traditions. One should remember that a life exists without rules. Games cannot exist without rules. Only false religion has rules because false religion is a game. However, natives whose consciousness has evolved to higher state, to such natives the definition of religion is love, humanity. The greatest harm that the so-called religions have done to humanity is to prevent humanity from finding the true religion. A true religion requires real experience. A true religion will not require faith from you. A true religion will require experience. It will not ask you to drop your doubt. It will help you to sharpen your doubt so that you can inquire to the very end. The true religion will help you to find your truth. True religion is about being righteous and living with awareness. It has nothing to do with being a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian. It simply has to do with the state of your awareness. The greater the awareness, the greater is the depth of your religion. True religion is real living, living with all one's soul, with all one's goodness and righteousness, says Albert Einstein. Swami Vivekananda specifically mentions that the true essence of religion is being true to yourself. Swami Vivekananda says, the greatest religion is to be true to your own nature. Have faith in yourself. Swami Vivekananda was against all kind of organized religions because organized religions simply make you a pawn. They use you to spread more violence and more regulations. Organized religions have always led to more suffocation than freedom. Swami Vivekananda says, if you want to be religious, enter not the gate of any organized religions. They do 100 times more evil than good because they stop the growth of each one's individual development. A less evolved soul having Rahu in Moola will become a follower of an organized religion. He will spend his whole life in proving how the religion in which he is born is superior to the other religions. Organized religions are climbing a ladder for politicians. By making religious propaganda, the politicians have grabbed the seat of power. Organized religion has become a synonym for the word politics. No organized religion can be in favor of a totally open mind. That's why an organized religion is not a religion at all. It is a politics. It all depends on the level of your consciousness. There are men and women who have killed thousands of people on the name of religion, and there are men and women who have made this human world a better place by nurturing love, by being human. The essence of being human is that one does not seek perfection. Perfection is a myth. Perfection means you are dead. There is no further scope of improvement. Whereas the whole universe operates in imperfection And because it is imperfect, it is growing. Had it been perfect, it would have been dead by now. A perfectionist is always restless and cause much pain to those who are involved in his work. Just the other day I came across a statement. A perfectionist is a person who takes great pains and gives even greater pains to others, and the outcome is just a miserable world. Moola Nakshatra native anyhow is not a perfectionist. He or she loves to be natural, and because they remain natural with all their imperfections, they look beautiful. When you live by being yourself, you look appealing, you look brilliant, you look beautiful. You are naturally beautiful when you are yourself. Only that woman looks beautiful who is natural, and only that man is trustworthy who is natural in his body language, in expressing his feelings, his emotions. And you will be able to express yourself naturally when there is no head but only the heart that beats with love, with feelings, and that is what Ketu, the lord of Moola Nakshatra, is all about. Moola is a beautiful nakshatra simply because it operates without logic. The only danger is that if the native is a typical hardliner religious person, then he may not think but just cut your head on the name of religion. However, if the native is an evolved being, matured, and a meditative person, then he will not think but save your life at the cost of his life, because to him the only religion is the religion of humanity, of love. So you see, Moola is just like the knife. It depends on whose hands the knife falls. If it falls in the hand of a hardliner religious activist, then on the name of religion, he may simply go on cutting the heads of innocent men and women. And if the knife falls in the hand of a spiritual meditative being, then he will use the knife to protect the innocent. He will try to stop the madness and the killings that are done on the name of religion. Moola therefore gives two versions: a typical religious hardliner or a humanist spiritual being. Depending on the version you belong to, Rahu in Moola will manifest its results. In a religious, less evolved soul, Rahu in Moola will exaggerate his religiousness and make him utterly religious hardliner. While in a much evolved soul, Rahu in Moola will boost his spiritual growth, making him more focused on meditations, yoga, and alternative therapies that bring a positive change in his being and in turn in his life as well. Moola Rahu natives, especially the evolved souls, cannot stand injustice, cannot tolerate corruption, and so many times they go against the corrupt administration. The administration may frame them as a Rajadrohi, meaning going against the administration, going against the king. But they are like Chanakya, who stood against the mighty Magadha emperor because the emperor was utterly corrupt, ignorant, and arrogant person. Rahu in Moola is a very hot-tempered native. They are fired up with so many ideals and principles of life that they can become great revolutionists who fights for justice and equal rights. If they are hardliner religious activists, then they will fight for the rights of their religion, and if they are spiritual humanists, then they will fight for humanity. Rahu in Moola native is a fighter by birth. No nonsense is the primary mantra of all Rahu in Moola Nakshatra natives. These natives like to stick to the point. If you try to go round and round the bush, they will simply ask you to get to the bottom line. Because they like to get to the point as quickly as possible. They are fast movers and their favorite slogan is "Move fast." Rahu Moola natives will not run around the bush. They will come direct to the point. If a Rahu Moola man loves you, then he will not waste time running around the bush. He will simply step ahead, bend on his knees and say, "I love you." Rahu in Moola is a very hot affair. They are intense in their love relationships, and at times this intensity brings jealousy, insecurity, and a possessive nature, which ultimately leads to a breakup in their relationships. Breakup is very hard for Rahu Moola natives. When the love is intense, love breakup is also very intensely hurting experience. And Rahu in Moola often goes through intense pain when they go through breakups. Moola by nature is a let go nakshatra. However, Rahu reverses this nature of letting go and instead makes the person more attached and more entangled, which eventually leads the native into depression and frustrations in relationships. They continue to hang on to the memories of their past relationships even though their partner has left them long back. The very first message to all my listeners having Rahu in Moola is learn to let go and realize the fact that you deserve more than the person who has left you. Be strong enough to let go and wise enough to wait for what you deserve. Rahu in Moola natives are God-fearing men and women. In reality, one should be God-loving and not God-fearing. The men who call themselves religious are God-fearing men, and God-fearing men can never be religious in the true sense. The ordinary God is nothing but a projection of your fear. It is not love, it is not trust. Because love knows nothing of fear and trust knows nothing of fear. Just as light has never seen darkness, love and trust have never met fear. But in all languages of the world, there are expressions like God-fearing. The religious person is known as God-fearing. That is sheer nonsense. A religious person cannot be God-fearing. If he is God-fearing, he is not religious yet. How can you fear God? Exploitation has happened in the church, in the temples, in the mosques, in the shrines, more than it has happened in the offices or elsewhere. And the reason is very obvious: fear of God, which the priests have been instilling in the mind of the common people. Priests have made so much fuss about hell, punishment, karma. They have made so much fuss about a God who is a very angry God. If you disobey him, he will throw you into hellfire and for eternity. It is the priest's work to create fear in you, because once fear is there, then they can exploit you. A fearful person will go to church, to the mosque, to the temple, but he is not going to God, he is going to the priest, and the priest exploits his or her fear. In reality, it is not just the priests, but a certain section of doctors, lawyers, astrologers, and black magicians are busy in creating fear in you, because unless there is fear, you will not yield, and unless you start yielding, how will they run their business? Remember, fear sells more than faith. Truth is hard, and only a truthful man or woman can face the reality, the truth of life. Rahu in Moola gives birth to a typical God-fearing person. However, if the horoscope has a certain higher quality to it, then the same Rahu in Moola native can become a God-loving person. The true essence of being religious is of tremendous love and not fear. A really religious person has a totally different approach towards life. It is not fear, it is of tremendous love. His God comes out of love. His God is nothing but another name for his total love. His God is another name for his total joy with existence. When you are in love with God, the only fear that exists is the fear of your ego dying. The thought of I am somebody evaporating, and that is indeed the most beautiful sign of your spiritual development. A spiritual person is always a lover of God, and only a lover of God is religious in the true sense. Religion is about love, about humanity, about forgiving, about deep understanding of the various aspects of human life. Moola is a beautiful nakshatra because Moola has the potential to understand the true essence of religion. The true essence of religion is love. God is love, and love has no religion. A man confined within the four walls, that is the dogma of a certain religion, is a lost man. He spends his whole life screaming and fighting to claim that his religion is superior to the other religions. But that's all. His whole life is spent in ignorance, in an ego trip, in utter foolishness. A man of awareness is not trapped in the four walls of a specific religion. He remains open to the greatest religion of all religion, the religion of humanity. He is perfectly aware that God has no religion. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation and one of the greatest freedom fighters that the world had ever known, quotes, God has no religion. God has no religion, but it's human ignorance that has given different flavors, that is religions, to the ultimate consciousness, God consciousness. Reminds me of a beautiful story. There was one great Sufi saint, and his name was Abdullah. One night Abdullah had a dream, and in his dream he saw that he has reached paradise. And the whole of paradise is decorated, millions of lights and flowers everywhere. Some celebration is going on and great music. He inquires, what is going on? And they say, this is God's birthday. We are celebrating it. You have come at the right time. So then Abdullah stands underneath a tree to see what is happening. Because a great procession starts moving on the road. A man is sitting on a horse. He inquires, who is this man? And they say, don't you know him? He is Prophet Muhammad. And then millions and millions of people behind him, and he asks, "Who are these people?" And he is replied to, "They are Mohammedans, Muslims, followers of Prophet Muhammad." And then comes Jesus, and millions are following him. And then comes Krishna on his golden chariot, and millions again are following him. And then comes Buddha, and millions are following him, and so on and so forth. The procession continues for a very long time. And then finally, in the end, on an old donkey, an old man is coming. And nobody is behind him, he is just alone. Abdullah starts laughing looking at this man. It is hilarious. Nobody is following him. And why should he be going on his donkey? He asks, "Who are you, sir?" "I have seen Muhammad, Christ, Krishna, Mahavira, Buddha. But who are you? You look like a kind of a joke, and nobody is following you." And the old man is very sad, and he says, "Yes, I am God. This is my birthday, but some people have become Mohammedans, some have become Christians, some have become Jews, some have become Hindus. Nobody is left to be with me." It is said that this dream was so moving that Abdullah, the great Sufi saint, woke up, and he told his disciples the next day, "Now I am no more a Mohammedan. The dream has been a great revelation. Now I am no more part of any organized religion. I am simply myself. I would like to be with God, at least one person following him." What a beautiful story. Spiritual man is never a part of any religion. He is simply with God because he is perfectly aware that God has no religion. In fact, God can be experienced. Godliness can come to your being only when you drop the idea of belonging to any specific religion and instead embrace love, embrace humanity, for that is the real religion. And an evolved soul, a meditative person having Rahu in Moola, perfectly connects with the true essence of religion, which is love. Base level souls having Rahu in Moola continue hurting and fighting and causing much harm to innocent beings on the name of religion, when in reality they have never realized the true essence of religion, that religion is a bridge to reach God and not a roadblock to stop you from experiencing love, experiencing joy, experiencing the divine. That is why in the very beginning I have specifically mentioned that a Rahu in Moola can either give birth to a typical religious hardliner or an evolved spiritual being who thinks beyond religion, who understands the true essence of humanity, of forgiveness, of love. Moola is a nakshatra of extremes. You are either a Hitler, that is a hardliner religious man who killed millions of people because they were Jews, or you are a Buddha who nurtured millions of men and women. There is no middle ground. Mediocrity is not a word that exists in the dictionary of Rahu in Moola native's life. Rahu in Moola are either detached from their siblings or siblings cause much trouble to them. These natives should not expect much from their siblings. If the placement of the planets in general is positive, then Rahu in Moola can be put to good use. The native can become a social activist, a revolutionary figure, a motivating coach, an inspiring preacher, or an aggressive businessman. Moola is a haughty nakshatra, and Rahu makes Moola more haughty by nature. If the placement of the chart is negative, then this Rahu in Moola gives birth to a very quarrelsome native who is not much liked by his people or family. The native's haughtiness becomes the primary reason for his fall from grace. When a person is haughty, he distances himself from other people and thereby deprives himself of one of life's biggest pleasures: open, joyful communication with everyone. Rahu in Moola can either give birth to a philosopher or to a spiritualist. Depends on the level of consciousness, based on how matured the native is. Always remember, a philosopher imagines, while a spiritualist is a realistic person. He is not imagining God, he has experienced God. He has seen God, the ultimate truth, the unseen, the beyond. The philosopher thinks about things. It is a mind approach. A spiritual being lives in the state of no mind, and that is the state of Buddha. Truth cannot be realized by your mind. Truth can be realized only when you are in the state of no mind. In the space of no mind, truth descends like a light. A philosopher is caught up in his mind. Philosophy is the blind man's effort. It is said, philosophy is a blind man in a dark room on a dark night, searching for a black cat which is not there. A philosopher thinking about truth is just like a blind man thinking about light. If you have eyes, you don't think about light, you see it. Seeing is a totally different process. It is a byproduct of meditation. All the philosophers have been thinking about the truth, but thinking about the truth is an impossibility. Either you know it or you don't. If you know it, there is no need to think about it. If you don't, then how can you think about it? Real saints and real masters are not philosophers. They are not thinking. They have experienced the real, the truth, the God consciousness. The philosopher thinks about things. It is a mind approach. The real approach should be of a no mind approach. It is just the very opposite of philosophizing. It is not thinking about things, ideas, but seeing with a clarity which comes when you put your mind aside, when you see through silence, not through logic. Seeing is not thinking. Please remember this. Buddha was not a philosopher. Mahavira was not a philosopher. Jesus was not a philosopher. Prophet was not a philosopher. And neither Krishna was a philosopher. Because philosophy is the product of the mind, and the mind is a monkey. The mind is just a traffic of thoughts, an ocean of illusions and assumptions. Always remember, the mind is a great philosopher, and life is not a philosophy. Life is a reality, and philosophy is an escape from reality. Philosophy means thinking. Life is. There is no question of thought. Philosophers have attributed nothing to the human world than mere arguments and debates. A man who has never seen an elephant will go on arguing how an elephant looks and what it stands for. However, a man who has actually seen the elephant will remain silent. Truth is always silent, whereas lies and assumptions make a lot of noise. It is said that when Jesus was hanged on the cross and was to be crucified, the Roman prefect Pontius Pilate asked Jesus the last question, "What is the truth?" And Jesus remained silent. It was the Buddhist silence. Truth happens in silence. God happens in silence. Love happens in silence. Jesus did not answer because answer has to be given. Truth has to be given only to that man who has a certain depth of understanding, one who is truthful to himself. Philosopher will teach you the philosophy of religion, but Buddha, Mahavira, Jesus, Krishna will never teach you the philosophy of religion, because religion is something like love. You cannot teach it. Religion is something like love. You cannot teach it. There is no way to teach love, and if you teach love and somebody becomes trained under your teachings, he may go to Hollywood and become an actor, but he will never become a lover. Your very teaching, your very discipline will be the barrier, and so one should never teach religion. Religion is something that passes heart to heart, not head to head. The moment religion passes head to head, it becomes theology. It is no more religion. Moola is a nakshatra that is spiritual by nature, but it all depends on which soil, meaning what kind of birth chart this beautiful spiritual seed of Moola Nakshatra falls in. If it falls in an evolved chart, then it works wonders, brings great spiritual growth and godly experiences. And if it falls in a base level chart, then you see a typical close-minded blind follower of a certain religion, someone who spends his whole life boasting on how great his religion is, while how other religions are trivial and bad. He remains a child, keeps fighting and causing harm to others on the name of religion, which he himself have never understood. He is just a nuisance to the society and to this beautiful planet, our Mother Earth. Moola Nakshatra, and especially Rahu in Moola, at some stage brings great interest in spirituality in an evolved being's life. Steve Jobs had a Rahu in Moola, and his conversion to Buddhism and his travel to India to satisfy his spiritual thirst is well known. Steve Jobs had traveled all the way from US to India to seek the darshan of the spiritual master Neem Karoli Baba. Steve Jobs, along with his friend Dan, traveled to India in April 1974 to study Hinduism and Indian spirituality. They had planned to meet Neem Karoli Baba, but when they arrived, they came to know that Neem Karoli Baba had taken Samadhi the previous year. Deeply touched by the teachings of Neem Karoli Baba, Steve Jobs and Dan stayed in Baba's ashram for a long time, listened to the teachings of Baba, meditated far off before going back to the US to start Apple Company. Interestingly, Dan became the first employee of the Apple Company, and the rest is history. It is said that Neem Karoli Baba's favorite fruit was apple, and so Steve Jobs made Apple as the logo of his company, the logo that today people like to flaunt with great pride. Steve Jobs was the evolved positive example of Rahu in Moola Nakshatra. These fellows are deeply faithful and never give up. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his company that he formed by his own intelligence, but still he never gave up. After a long gap, he returned back with a great concept: the iPhone, the iPad. Steve Jobs quotes, "Sometimes life is going to hit you in the head with a brick, but you should not lose faith." Rahu in Moola is a revolutionary figure. He will never stand injustice. He will fight to bring justice to his countrymen. The ruling government may call such a man as a traitor or a Deshdrohi, but in reality, he is going against the ruling throne because he cannot stand its corruption. During the Great American Independence War, one such great man stood against the corrupt British imperial government. His name was George Washington. George Washington was the first president of United States of America. He was an American political leader, military general, statesman, and founding father of the American Constitution. George Washington had a Rahu in Moola Nakshatra. The selfless spirit of Moola combined with the fire ambition of Rahu is such that George Washington spent his whole life in serving his countrymen. His service to his people, his nation is so great that he has been regarded as one of the greatest US president. And yet, Rahu in Moola brings forth Washington's spiritual side when he quotes, "I will be happy to be on a farm than to become the emperor of the world." These natives, Rahu in Moola, are basically spiritual natives. A great spirit, Rahu in Moola, brings intense desire to fight for righteousness, for justice, for equal rights, for freedom. If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may lead like sheep to the slaughter, says George Washington. Dharma, righteousness, is at the root of Moola. Moola means the root of righteousness, root of the universal consciousness. In fact, there is one Ainamsha based on Moola Nakshatra, which is also called Moola Ainamsha. Rahu in Moola brings great interest towards suspense, thrill, and mysteries of life. And when you have a Rahu in Moola in the 8th house, then it is a double whammy, because 8th is also the house of suspense, thrill, and secrets of life. Alfred Hitchcock had a Rahu in Moola placed in the 8th house of his birth chart. He became one of the greatest filmmakers and was known as the master of suspense. He directed over 50 feature films in a career spanning 6 decades. Rahu and Moola both are tamasic, meaning devilish by nature. And so the focus on emphasizing on the negative aspects of life is more than the positive aspects of life. Although, if you observe closely, you will realize that the hero is born only when a villain exists. The more bad the villain is, the more good the hero appears. And that is how life is. The more bad you face, the more you appreciate the good in your life. And when you start appreciating and valuing the good in your life, the picture of your life becomes a hit, a super success. Alfred Hitchcock quotes, "The more successful the villain, the more successful is the picture." Rahu in Moola usually brings hardships to the father of the native, or the native feels absence of father or absence of father's love. The native by birth is a father's boy or daddy's girl. The native wants to be with father, but events happen in such a fashion that the father cannot be with the native, though the native continues to crave for his or her father's love. Steve Jobs never lived with his biological father. He was put up for adoption. Rahu in Moola generally leads to absence of father in the native's life. Steve's biological father was a Muslim and his biological mother was a Catholic Christian. His mother put him up for adoption and he was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs. Steve Jobs regarded them as his real parents, in his words, 1000%, because Paul and Clara Jobs loved him dearly. Steve Jobs called his biological parents as my sperm and egg bank. That's not harsh, it's just the way it was. A sperm bank thing, nothing more. Steve Jobs would become upset when Paul and Clara were referred to as his adoptive parents. He regarded them as his parents 1000%. Rahu in Moola natives are hard-working people. Because they go through many difficulties of life, they become stronger, more faithful and more hard-working and always smile with a never give up attitude. Steve Jobs started the company Apple in his parents' garage when he was 20 years old. He worked hard and in 10 years Apple had grown from just 2 employees in a garage into a 2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. Strong desire to become a preacher, a godly person, a spiritual guide, or a real-time mentor is very much imbibed within natives having Rahu in the Moola Nakshatra. It all depends on the quality of the horoscope. If the quality is good and positive, then the native truly turns out to be a genuine mentor, a genuine spiritual guide, or a genuine preacher or a teacher. However, if the horoscope is of inferior quality, then the native is just a fake person, trying to disguise himself or herself as a godly person or a pious person, when in reality he is fake to the core. In today's Rahuish world, the fake gets more attention while the real remains away from the world. In his own bliss, his joy, his peace. The real master will never make you dependent on him. He will come when you are ready and he will leave when you are truly ready. Lao Tzu, one of the greatest spiritual masters, says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. The real master never becomes a crutch for you. Never. Be aware of the master because you can fall in love too much. You can become too much attached. The real master is one who helps you to fall in love and then helps you to stand on your own so that you can leave the master. A real master never becomes a crutch for you. Never. Before he sees that you are clinging too much, he starts getting out of your life. Because the ultimate goal is freedom. Freedom from all crutches. Freedom from all props. Freedom from every discipline, doctrine, method. Freedom from all. That's the goal. The whole essence of the master's sharing happens in the state of detachment. And so a real master will never become a crutch for you. Instead, he will set you free so that you can spread your wings and fly. Always remember, there is a bird in each one of us waiting to fly. And birds are meant to fly. The master simply helps the bird within you to take off and experience the higher altitudes, the peak of consciousness, God consciousness. Courage is the key to succeeding in life. You cannot be truthful if you are not courageous. You cannot be loving if you are not courageous. You cannot be trusting if you are not courageous. You cannot enter into reality if you are not courageous. Hence, courage comes first and everything else follows. You will be courageous, you will step in and voice your heart out only when you are truthful to yourself. Courage is a love affair with the unknown. Courage is needed, courage to be alone, courage to drop the attachment to the crowd, courage to drop ambitions. This courage comes through the valorous nakshatra of Moola. Courage is not possible as long as you are caught up in your head. Courage is possible only when you drop your head, that is your logic, and reach your heart. Only when you start following your heart, courage is possible. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Ketu therefore is the perfect source of courage because Ketu has no head, and only a man, only a woman who has no head can love, can jump, can experience the beyond, the divine, the godly. Rahu in Moola brings courage. That is how you see Steve Jobs, George Washington, and many such brave, courageous men having Rahu in Moola, taking the risk and in return providing this human world with fresh perspectives, innovations, new ideas, and establishments. Courage is the willingness to risk failure, and only a man who is willing to risk failure can rise to the higher altitudes of consciousness and attain great success in his life. With courage, you will dare to take risks, have the strength to be compassionate, and the wisdom to be humble. Courage is the foundation of integrity, says Mark Twain. Rahu in Moola is indeed a nakshatra that brings great courage. I humbly prostrate before Moola, the valorous spiritual nakshatra. One who worships Moola Nakshatra is blessed with the spirit of righteousness, spirit of truth, and only a man fired up with certain values and ethics will show courage. If he has loved a woman, if he has loved his country, if he is in love with the work he does, then for his love he can go to any extent. He can even risk his life. That's Moola, the valorous warrior who has come to this human world to make a difference, a positive difference. Courage is indeed the foremost quality of a warrior. A Rahu in Moola native is indeed a warrior who always fights back. He simply never gives up. Warriors are not the ones who always win, but the ones that always fight. It is through Moola that the righteousness of this human world is intact. A warrior fights to safeguard righteousness. The righteous are bold as a lion. To sum up, an evolved being having Rahu in Moola is a man who fights for justice, for righteousness, who may be labeled as a traitor by the ruling government, but he is not a traitor, he is just saying the truth. He is just exposing the corruption of the ruling government. He is a courageous being. He is a born warrior. The successful warrior is the average man with a laser like focus. One who is a warrior can also succeed in the greatest battle of life, the battle of knowing yourself, the battle of finding the answer to the question, who am I? You have to ask yourself the question, who am I? This investigation will lead in the end to the discovery of something within you which is beyond the mind. Solve that great problem and you will solve all other problems, says Bhagwan Raman Maharshi, one of the greatest spiritual masters. The answer to the question, who am I, can only be found when you have the courage of a warrior. Because to turn inward, to look within, to meditate, tremendous courage is needed. A weak soul cannot meditate. He or she will give up because the moment you close your eyes, you can experience a lot of chaos within you. Millions of thoughts swarming like bees, and you cannot tolerate. You open your eyes and give up on meditation. That is why I say that to meditate, you need to have the courage of a warrior. You need to have the intensity, the faith, the persistence of not giving up. To meditate, you need to be a courageous being. Meditation is just a courage to be silent and alone. Slowly, you start feeling a new quality to yourself, a new aliveness, a new beauty, a new intelligence, which is not borrowed from anybody, which is growing within you. It has roots in your existence. Everything we do, everything we achieve is through the mind. And meditation happens only when there is no mind. And so to overcome the mind, you need tremendous courage which Moola can provide. And you can benefit if you are a man of awareness, a seeker of truth, of love, of God. The mind cannot penetrate meditation. Where a mind ends, meditation begins. This has to be remembered because in our life, whatsoever we do through the mind. Whatsoever we achieve through the mind. Mind therefore becomes extremely critical in the affairs of human beings, and that makes the moon chart, Chandra Kundali, very significant when it comes to predictions. Moola Nakshatra therefore is of great significance. Moola is the energy, the Ketuish energy that can overcome the mind and lead you in the beautiful valleys of deep meditations. Rahu in Moola is also a great placement for spiritual seekers. It is a perfect placement for those who seek the beyond. For the truth dawns on you only when you move beyond the mind. Only when you come to the state of no mind, the state of Buddha, the state of Ketu. Meditate.